You've done all this and you think to yourself, wow, I am eating plastic carrots at this point. Good news is nanoplastics are microscopic. You cannot see them with the human eye. They are 1 micrometer. So the way that it would get into your garden, we all know about kind of the basics when it comes to contaminated garden soil. We know about pesticides, heavy metals, salts, maybe petroleum, depending on where you put your garden. But regardless, there is another one that is new to the gardening world, and that is plastic. So the Geek Crew knows that I did a video last year that was just for fun, for the most part, talking about solo cups and plastics used in a garden. But this video, I'm gonna go into what plastic does on a microscopic level to both the plant's health and the soil health, because I think that that is an extension of that first video for sure, but a little bit more of a serious scientific look at it that I think you guys would be interested. Microplastics are one thing, but nanoplastics are another. And nanoplastics are microscopic. You cannot see them with the human eye. They are 1 micrometer, to put it in perspective, and they come from larger plastics. So the way that it would get into your garden could be via the plastic packaging that contains your compost or your potting soils, your plant pots and containers, fertilizers, the water, shockingly enough, as well. Literally, the list is endless. So let's look at the soil first. When it comes to the soil, we know that a healthy soil contains physical, chemical, and biological properties that kind of all work in synchronicity and benefit each other. So when it comes to physical, the plastics on a nanoplastic side, shockingly enough, can actually cause some issues. There is a study that came out showing that the plastic can physically bind to the organic material in your soil, which for all intents and purposes is your soil structure and the physicality of your soil. So what that does to your soil long term, not sure, but in the meantime, we can note that it's attaching itself to the soil system. Now, from a chemical perspective, when we talk about chemical, we're talking about obviously the 17 essential nutrients, along with ones that plants don't necessarily take up, but definitely play a role kind of in the soil system as a whole. And these all have varying charges, either positive or negative. And it turns out that nanoplastics have the ability to also attach to the minerals in the soil, meaning the chemistry portion of the soil is also affected by nanoplastics because they are a wannabe element of the periodic table. And soil is just so loving that it adopted it, no problems, in many shapes and forms. Now, what about the biology of the soil? Well, it turns out that yes, it can affect the biology, not so much harming the biology as much as like a pesticide or a salt or a petroleum product would. The way that it affects the biology of the soil is kind of interesting in my opinion. So when we talk about pesticides, insecticides, fungicides, bactericides, herbicides, you name it, or when we talk about fertilizers, organic or synthetic fertilizers, it turns out that microbe populations, specific ones, not all, but specific ones, actually increase when these two are applied. And the reason for that is because microbes go in and immediately start degrading and eating both pesticides and fertilizers. Don't shoot the messenger, it's just a fact of life. That's what happens. Now, this increase in microbiology is temporary, obviously, because once that excessive buffet has been depleted and runs out, the microbes die off as well. And then the new microbes will eat those ones, and eventually the food supply just dwindles back down to normal. But regardless, it causes a temporary influx. Well, it turns out with plastics, it's like the only additive that doesn't trigger any sort of microbe increase or decrease for that matter, but it is occupying space inside of our soil system, inside of our soil solution, whether it's attaching itself to the organic material or it's attaching itself to the mineral portion of the soil. It's still interfering with spaces that microbes normally would inhabit and would normally be filled with organic material or other minerals. I think over time, you could maybe say your hypothesis would be that it'll decrease microbial activity solely because it's replacing the position of stuff that microbes used to feed on. Yeah, so the biology side, not fully understood yet. Again, I'm just saying hypothetically, theoretically, my hypothesis is that there's no studies saying that that's the case. Please do not quote me on that. But I think that that's very likely the case, just based off the fact that it's affecting the physical and the chemical. So when it comes to the plants themselves, plants do uptake plastics, and we spoke about this in that video, the original plastic video I had done, and it's taken up by the roots and it's also taken up by the leaves through the stomata. The leaf version of this obviously happens when we water from the top, and the water contains microplastics, which obviously get into the leaves through the guard cells, through the stomata into the cells, and then the roots obviously uptake it. The interesting part, however, is how it affects the plant once it's inside of it. There's some research I was looking at that was specifically speaking to lettuce and wheat, and it turns out that when lettuce and wheat uptook these nanoplastics, it actually caused a stress response in the plant. And if you've ever watched a stress response play out in the plant, whether it's snipping of a leaf or transplant shock, you know that it causes a lot of things to start happening. I'll see if I can find the footage of it, but essentially calcium will rush to the place where the stress is located, and that movement in turn can stop the other processes that need to take place that involve calcium and other minerals, which obviously isn't beneficial. Now, if you had a constant stressor like a nanoplastic kind of moving through the plant, the theory there is that it will constantly interrupt processes that need to take place inside of the plant, which ultimately will mean that you'll have a stunted or a lower producing plant down the road. It turns out that there's no known maximum level of microplastics that are uptaken, solely because the nanoplastics are being taken up just like by osmosis. So the plant's not digging for them or trying to get them. They're just literally ending up in there without an invite. And so the more plastic that ends up in your soil system, the more stress response you can experience, which in turn can increase, obviously, or decrease, how would you word that? Decrease the productivity of the plant. So that one's not fun. So while we don't know the long-term effects of what it does to the soil or to plants, especially as it begins to build up in the system, it's really hard to say if this is going to affect your garden or if it's something that you even need to be worried about. You're probably ingesting nanoplastics all the time. Sorry to bear bad news, but yeah. I think we have something like a plastic spoon in our brain, like the equivalent of a plastic spoon in our brains.
Over the years, microplastics, a word you probably started to hear more, they've been found in almost every organ in the body, as well as in the bloodstream. But now, for what seems to be the first time, these microscopic pollutants have been found in tissue in the human brain.
Terrifying. I love being a millennial. I love growing up in a world where I saw it at its best, purest form of beauty to now. It's a beautiful thing to watch happen, mostly because I'm dead inside, but anyways. There are 4 steps you can take to try to reduce the amount of microplastics you end up with in your garden. So let's go. So number 1 is avoiding long-term uses of plastic. So if you're using a plastic cell such as this, and you're maybe not reusing it, it's not heavily degraded, it's probably pretty unlikely that you're getting a lot of plastic in the system, so you're probably okay. But when it comes to stuff that's sitting on the soil, exposed to the heat, the sunlight, the wind, the water, all of it, you can quickly see how that would make its way into both the soil and into your plants. So that means mulches, whether it's plastic polys or black plastic bedding mulch. You can get different shredded plastic mulches, you name it. In some cases, even like wood mulches can contain plastic. Any of these unknown source mulches will increase this, and it's probably one of the bigger sources that were noted for how plastic gets into your system. So that may be one you just want to skip entirely. Next up is your compost. We've all heard of the biodegradable bags you can get, the bio bags, and they're made from a plastic of sort. And actually, I go over in that plastic video kind of how these are sort of like a gray area where they're not classified as a plastic yet, but they are a plastic. Anyways, it's very complicated, but these are and will find their way into commercial composting. And that is because they can only really be degraded in the commercial compost solely because of that level of heat that is needed for decomposition to take place with these compostable bags. And that does mean that plastic will end up in the system. Now, the other thing with commercial compost is that they're not evil. Composting facilities are not evil, but there just is gonna be plastic because you've got the plastic mulches, and what's the likelihood of everyone separating it out properly? Pretty low. I would say probably pretty low. You've got garbage that just blows into it. These composting facilities are outdoors. I mean, the list of reasons why you end up with plastic in commercial composting is quite honestly endless. So that might be something you want to skip as a commercial compost and go for something local, like something you made and you know doesn't have plastics in it, other than the plastics you're just naturally cycling in your garden currently, of course. Keep that in mind. But that's one. The other one is manure. My understanding is that cows in feedlots, we don't tend to feed that much garbage to. They're a little bit more sensitive. So I think a cow manure is okay. I think a sheep manure probably is okay as well. Vermicast, bat guanos, those ones are probably fine. Hog manure, though, I might be slight concerned because I do believe that hogs are kind of like carburetors, and I'm not 100% sure how careful people are about what they feed them, but I've just seen videos that could be completely fake and could be a complete conspiracy theorist. But I do know that hogs will eat anything, including humans. Robert Picton, actually. That's a Canadian legend right there. Not in a good way. But yeah, hog manure specifically. So the next one is actually filtering your water, which can be possible for some people, but not all. If you do this, you need to obviously use specifically a plastic, nanoplastic filter, and they are super fine. Like we're talking like an RO system level of filtration. That's up to you if you want to go that route, but that would be probably the biggest fail-safe for ensuring you're not adding in new plastics, particularly if you've cut out the usage of plastic, maybe in your seed starting setups, and you don't have any plastic containers anywhere anymore, and you don't use any plastic mulches whatsoever. That would be kind of your final step. I would remove all those other objects first before you went to the filtration method, but that would be like the head of it all. If you've done all this and you think to yourself, wow, I am eating plastic carrots at this point, good news is just really focus in on biodiversity, because nanoplastics are much smaller than just regular plastic, and microbes can do some pretty crazy things. They will, over time, slowly degrade the plastic. Now, it's not their favorite meal, but it can happen. And so as long as we're supporting microbe diversity in our soil, we can cross our fingers that over time we can reduce the amount of plastic in our soil, particularly if we're taking all the precautions before that. Now, me personally, probably gonna do none of that because I just don't have that sort of time on my hands. We're all gonna die one day anyways, so yeah. And in today's society, maybe sooner's better than later, because hashtag 2025 is awesome. Anyways, Geek Crew, thanks for watching, and I will talk to you guys next time.